Disney's latest live-action remake of Snow White is hitting theaters, and the early signs are pointing to a potential box office disaster. What was once the crown jewel of Disney's animated classics has become the center of controversy, with theaters reportedly sitting empty across the country. Today, we're diving into why Disney is panicking as Rachel Zegler's Snow White faces a potential box office catastrophe. The trouble began nearly 2 years ago when Disney announced Rachel Zegler would star as the iconic princess in their live-action remake. While Zegler had received acclaim for her role in West Side Story, her comments about the original 1937 film quickly sparked backlash. In multiple interviews, Zegler described the original Snow White as outdated, criticized the prince as stalkerish, and emphasized that her version wouldn't be about a girl dreaming about true love, but rather a girl dreaming about becoming the leader she knows she can be. These comments didn't sit well with fans of the original film who felt Zegler was dismissing the cultural significance of Disney's first feature-length animated film. The controversy only intensified when behind-the-scenes images leaked, revealing that Disney had replaced the seven dwarfs with a diverse group of magical creatures. This decision, which Disney claimed was made after consulting with members of the dwarfism community, was met with mixed reactions, including criticism from actor Peter Dinklage. As the release date approached, Disney's marketing strategy became increasingly cautious. The first trailer, released in late 2023, carefully avoided showing the new versions of the dwarfs and focused primarily on recreating iconic scenes from the animated classic. But by then, the damage was already done. Social media campaigns calling for boycotts of the film gained traction, with hashtags like #NotMeSnowWhite trending periodically. Disney's attempts at damage control have been obvious. In recent months, the studio has limited Zegler's press appearances and carefully controlled her messaging. At the film's premiere, media access was restricted, and Zegler's interviews were notably brief and unscripted, a stark contrast to her earlier candid comments that had fueled the controversy. Now, as the film finally hits theaters, the early box office indicators are alarming for Disney executives. Reports from across the country show theaters with shockingly low ticket sales for opening weekend. Social media users have been sharing screenshots of nearly empty seating charts for primetime showings in major cities. One viral post showed a Friday night IMAX screening in Los Angeles with only 7 tickets sold just hours before showtime. Industry analysts are projecting an opening weekend of around $55 to $65 million domestically, a disastrous figure for a film with a reported production budget of $200 to $250 million. Plus marketing costs. For comparison, Disney's live-action remake of The Little Mermaid opened to $118 million in 2023, and even that film struggled to achieve profitability with its final global haul. The timing couldn't be worse for Disney, which has been experiencing a concerning box office slump. Recent releases like The Marvels, Wish, and Haunted Mansion all underperformed, leading to questions about the studio's creative direction. CEO Bob Iger, who returned to the company in late 2022, has been under pressure to right the ship and restore Disney's box office dominance. So, what exactly went wrong with Snow White? The controversy surrounding Zegler's comments certainly played a role, but it's part of a larger pattern of audience fatigue with Disney's live-action remakes. While early entries like 2015's Cinderella and 2016's The Jungle Book were well received critically and commercially, recent remakes have been criticized for feeling like soulless cash grabs that fail to justify their existence beyond nostalgia exploitation. There's also the question of Disney's approach to updating these classic stories for modern audiences. While most viewers understand the need to refresh certain outdated elements, Disney's remakes have increasingly been criticized for heavy-handed messaging that sometimes feels at odds with the spirit of the original tales. In the case of Snow White, Zegler's comments suggested a fundamental rethinking of the character and story that left many fans wondering why Disney would remake a film they seemed almost embarrassed by. The studio's marketing strategy hasn't helped either. The trailers for Snow White have emphasized visual spectacle, but have been vague about the film's actual story. This approach may have been intended to avoid further controversy, but it's left potential audiences unclear about what to expect from the film beyond familiar imagery and songs. Industry insiders suggest that Disney is already bracing for a financial loss on Snow White. The studio reportedly spent lavishly on the production, with elaborate sets, cutting-edge visual effects for the magical creatures, and an extended shooting schedule that included significant reshoots. With marketing costs likely exceeding $100 million globally, Snow White would need to earn approximately $550 to $600 million worldwide just to break even, a figure that now seems virtually impossible to reach. The international box office, once a reliable safety net for underperforming Hollywood blockbusters, may not save Snow White either. Disney's recent films have struggled in key markets like China, where changing political dynamics and growing local competition have diminished Hollywood's foothold. Early tracking in international markets suggests Snow White will face similar challenges abroad as it does domestically. For Disney, the potential failure of Snow White raises serious questions about their live-action remake strategy. After mining most of their Renaissance-era animated classics, the studio has been digging deeper into their vault, with remakes of Bambi, Hercules, and Lilo Stitch all in various stages of development. A box office disaster for Snow White could force Disney to reconsider this approach, or at least be more selective about which properties they choose to remake. The situation also highlights the growing disconnect between Disney and its traditional audience. While the studio has been focused on updating their classics to reflect contemporary values, they may have underestimated the emotional attachment many viewers have to the original versions. Finding the right balance between honoring these beloved films and making them relevant for today's audiences has proven to be a significant challenge. Some industry analysts suggest that Disney might have been better served by releasing Snow White directly to their streaming platform, Disney, where expectations would be different and success would be measured by subscriber engagement rather than box office dollars. However, with a budget this large, streaming was likely never a viable option from a financial perspective. The irony is that Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs saved Walt Disney's studio from bankruptcy in 1937. Now, nearly 9 decades later, the remake could represent one of the company's most significant financial missteps in recent memory. While Disney is certainly not at risk of bankruptcy today, the symbolism of Snow White becoming a box office failure would be hard to ignore. For Rachel Zegler, the film's poor performance could have career implications as well. While she's a talented performer who received acclaim for West Side Story, becoming associated with a high-profile box office disappointment could impact her future casting prospects, particularly in family-friendly franchises. However, she already has several projects lined up, including the Hunger Games prequel and a role in Paddington in Peru, suggesting that Hollywood still sees significant potential in the young actress. Disney executives are likely already conducting a post-mortem on what went wrong with Snow White, even as the film is just beginning its theatrical run. The lessons learned could shape the studio's approach to future remakes and adaptations of their classic properties. Will they become more conservative in their updates? Will they be more careful about how cast members discuss the original films? Or will they reconsider the remake strategy altogether? Whatever happens, the Snow White situation serves as a cautionary tale about the challenges of reimagining beloved classics for contemporary audiences. It's not enough to simply update the visuals or add modern sensibilities. These stories have endured because they connected with audiences on a deep emotional level. Any remake that loses sight of that emotional core risks alienating the very audience it's trying to reach. As the weekend progresses, we'll get a clearer picture of just how badly Snow White's performing at the box office. But based on the early indicators, Disney's fairest of them all may be turning into the ugliest financial disaster in the studio's recent history. The magic mirror on the wall would certainly have some harsh truths to share about this particular adaptation. For a studio built on fairy tales, Snow White's box office performance is shaping up to be anything but a happy ending. Disney will need to take a hard look at what went wrong and make significant adjustments if they hope to recapture the box office magic that once made them the envy of Hollywood. Until then, those empty theater seats speak volumes about the challenges facing even the most powerful studio in the entertainment industry. What do you think about the Snow White controversy? Are you planning to see the film, or are you sitting this one out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more entertainment, news, and analysis.